Welcome back to Kind Regards, the show. When you're feeling bad, you need to listen to yourself. That's the thesis of this video. Negative emotions are not here to torment us or punish us for our inherent inadequacies or something like that, even though maybe it feels like they are. Ultimately, negative emotions, as I understand them, are signals. They're trying to tell us something about where we're at. They're trying to, anxiety is trying to say that you feel unsafe and that you want to feel more secure. Depression is a signal that you have ceased. You can't recognize value in the world. Everything seems sort of flat and grey and worthless, and that you have no hope for the future and stuff like that. So it's trying to tell you, hey, you need to salvage value. You need to find value in the world. All the things that have been giving you value are not giving you value for one reason or another. And so it's a signal for us to withdraw and to be with that, and then listen, and then see value emerge and have value renewed in us, right? You can take any emotion and find at its root some sort of like good reason why we would feel it. And this is a difficult sort of truth for a lot of people, including myself, to sort of get behind, because what it means is if you're feeling bad, don't do anything. Like listen, stop and listen. Like if you're feeling bad, don't run off and do something. Don't distract yourself. Don't try and solve things right away. These are all very instinctive processes of the doing mind. The doing mind really wants to like sink its teeth into the next action, the next solution. And this is a red herring because we often don't know what is going on. We often don't actually have clear insight into what needs to be done because we're just feeling the negative emotion. We're reacting to the negative emotion, not reacting to the root, to the source of it. Does that make sense? And so the thinking mind, the egoic mind, loves management. It loves seeking things that feel good and avoiding things that feel bad. And yeah, then naturally the problem is that the things that feel good are always fleeting, and the things that feel bad are necessary and unescapable. You cannot avoid them. And in fact, the more you try and avoid them, the worse they get, the larger they grow in magnitude, because we're putting off all this sort of emotional work that we're supposed to be doing. And so the ultimate message is that we need to, and this is playing out in my life right now, having gone through like a weird sort of like depressive patch, like of a handful of days where I really wasn't into it. And I was like, what am I even doing? Like everything sucks. I don't want to do anything except for watch The Sopranos and, eat muesli. And so this has happened to me many times before, where I reflect on my poor well-being and I go, I feel really bad. And then I go, okay, if this bad feeling was trying to tell me something, when would I have the chance to hear it? When, like that's such a big question to me. When could I actually listen to this bad feeling and see what it tells me? And usually in my life, at the moment, it's a bit of an exception because I have so much time on my hands. But usually in my life, I'm really busy. My morning is all writing and, stretching and exercising and meditating and breakfast and then writing and coffee and writing and coffee. And then I finish that and I have lunch and then I go off to work and then I'm working all day and then I come home and I cook dinner. Like it's just doing all the time, doing. And in the car on the way to work, I'm listening to a podcast and then I get 5 minutes in between shifts and I go on my phone and check my emails and reply to emails. Like I'm always doing stuff. And in that sort of course, in that day that I've just described, there is no real chance for my, if you like Jung, like the unconscious mind, to like penetrate into into consciousness and give me some sort of wisdom and insight that sort of balances out my psyche, or at the very least for our just for our thoughts to sort of associate and bounce around until we land on something insightful, land on something that feels really, really true. If we're constantly doing stuff, we have no time, we have no like spaciousness for this insight to step into. And even if the insight arrived, we would run away from it so quickly to the next thing that it might not be able to sink in and really, I guess, sink its teeth in and make itself known in like a deep way. So we need emptiness, we need silence and stillness. We need to just be with a thing, for two reasons. The one is that the solution, the message that depression or anxiety or sadness or sorrow, despair, isolation or loneliness is trying to send to us, the message that we're trying to receive, will not get heard unless we're silent and still and creating space for that message to step into. And the other reason we should be still is to avoid avoidance, to be with something that's happening. There's a great talk by James Lowe on the Waking Up app where he talks about the colors on the palette of life. He says, if we don't want to feel despairing, we don't want to feel lonely, we don't want to feel depressed or frightened, but these are colors on the palette of life. We don't want to paint with them all the time. We don't want to, live in only those colors and only paint blue paintings with our sad blue depressive paint. But if we expect to never feel these emotions, if we want to totally cut out these emotions from our experience and never experience them, then we are cutting ourselves off from the truth of life as it is, like what life actually consists of, which is loss and grief and change as just the massive concept that all these other sort of negative emotions fall into, or like large life events fall into. It's all change. And not only are we cutting ourselves off from life as it is and sort of the natural life to be experienced, life experienced without resistance would include all of these things, but also we're cutting ourselves off from all people who feel these emotions. We can't be with someone who is grieving if we've never allowed ourselves to grieve. We can't actually see them as they are. We can't understand them heart to heart, if that makes sense. Obviously, there's a limit to understanding, conceptual understanding, blah, blah, blah. But it seems definitely true to me that, have you ever met a really positive person, like a painfully positive person who is they never complain about anything. They never have a bad word to say about anybody. And there's a part of you that resists them. I might be projecting here, but there's a part of me that resists them and goes and can't trust them because they're not allowing themselves to feel or express certain emotions that I think are natural and normal, like anger, like frustration, like, just any kind of negative reaction to a thing. They seem to be completely immune to these or repressing these. And so you go, I feel like I can't actually connect with you in the same way that a really negative person is the same thing. You can't have fun with a negative person, a really deeply negative person, because they are not allowing themselves to have access to those feelings. Does that make sense? They're trying to only paint with some of the colors on the palette of life. And naturally, we want to connect with all the people that we know. We want to connect with other people and show them that they're not so alone in the world. We want to feel that way ourselves, connect to a person and feel like solace in our sort of inherent solitude. And we want to feel connected to life, to experience, to all the other living creatures. And I think it is fair to say that we cannot do that unless we are open to existence as it is, including despair and loneliness and depression and hopelessness and all of these other emotions. So we need all the colors on the palette. Even though some are nice, joy and inclusion are much nicer than, isolation and despair. These are all a part of our lives, and it is at our own peril that we would try and exercise, get rid of, cast away these negative aspects of our experience. And so what do we do? Well, I sort of said it at the start. We just sit with them. We allow ourselves to hear what these feelings have to offer us. This can be really hard if we have a really chaotic mind. If we're thinking really fast and we just jump from one thing to another. When I feel negative emotions, it's really easy for my mind to think about mundane things. So like I'll look around the room and be like, oh, that tree, and I'll think about the tree out there, and be like, oh, that tree, like, oh, I wonder what kind of tree that is. Even though I'm feeling really angry, I'll fixate on something. And so when I have more control of my mind, I find it easy to bring my mind back to emptiness, sort of come back and be like, okay, now's not actually the time to think about that tree. It's okay to have thoughts about the tree, but I don't have to, and I don't really want to either. Let's just bring our attention back to how I'm feeling. How am I feeling? What would my feeling want to say to me if it could speak? What would it want me to do? Why would it be frustrated with me? Those kind of questions. It sort of opened myself up. Again, not rushing to an answer, but just asking the question, just letting answers appear and disappear and sort of float. And if one really resonates, you'll feel that. It's very rare that I'll miss an answer accidentally when I'm in this sort of space of emptiness. So all of this is to say, when the mind is a little bit confused and chaotic, when we haven't trained our mind with meditation and mindfulness practices, and we're easily lost in thought, then writing can be really helpful. Writing our feelings out, doing like journal prompts for when we're having negative emotions. There's a great video by Struthless actually that includes sort of journaling for negative emotions, like journaling for when bad things happen, journaling for breaking our mindset. And so I'll put that here because that's got some really useful stuff, and I don't want to paraphrase it and botch it. But yeah, writing can be really good for sort of staying on track and keeping the space open. You can repeatedly ask the same question and see what sort of comes up. But yeah, ultimately the practice is just being with it. So maybe going for a walk would be good. I don't know what works for you. You can kind of be creative here, and you'll know if it works for you, obviously, because you'll do it and you'll feel it. But yeah, the thesis of this video, just to reiterate, is when you are feeling bad, that is a message. That's like that something important has to happen because of this feeling. That's what the feeling is there for. It's here to signal that we need something, or we need to get away from something, or something needs to change. And instead of running off and changing things and hoping that works, from running off and eating a bunch of jelly donuts, or running off and drinking a coffee, and then we're so fast that we don't think about our emotions, instead of externalizing our disappointment into the world with anger. That's what I did the other day. That's pretty nice. Instead of doing all that stuff, we can slow down, be with the thing, listen, and see if anything comes up. We can write about it. We can sort of walk and think about it. But just create space and allow the emotion to communicate something to us. Give it that space and allow enough quiet that we would actually hear it if it was going to say something. This has been Kind Regards, the show. I hope this has been helpful. I've got a Substack where I write articles, like philosophically articles. They're kind of similar to this content, but a little bit more polished and sort of tuned up. And then I've got a Spotify and a YouTube link depending on where you want to get the content. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. I hope this has been useful. Have a great day. Thanks.